Greetings. I'm Jessica Royer, and I'm a ministerial student with the Holmes Institute and the Centers for Spiritual Living. I'm honored to be leading our Wednesday service this evening. Tonight's title is Connecting the Dots. Our own experiences and the echoes of our ancestors influence the way we think, feel, and behave. Our actions matter. Connection. We speak of it often. There are many types of connection. Connection with people, connection with our bodies, connection with God, connection with ourselves. Perhaps it is this last type that can be the most challenging for us. It certainly is for me. We have many ways to develop this connection with ourselves, whether through therapy, spiritual practices such as prayer, journaling, and meditation, or using personality tools such as the Myers-Briggs, the Enneagram, or human design. There are lots of different ways to explore connection to ourselves. Our inspiration book, entitled What Happened to You, gives us some insights into understanding how our brains work and how that can help us to better understand ourselves and others, providing the opportunity for more meaningful connections with ourselves and with other people. Llewellyn Vaughan Lee writes, "Our heart knows what our mind has forgotten. It knows the sacred that is within all that exists, and through a depth of feeling, we can once again experience this connection, this belonging." Our authors, Dr. Perry and Oprah Winfrey, suggest that our minds have not forgotten, but we may just not be aware. Last week, we talked about how past events can be stored in our brains, either as conscious memory or in an unconscious manner. That these memories are carried into our current lives and can sometimes create confusion or suffering, especially if we don't understand how they are connected. Dr. Perry and Oprah describe how not only do our individual experiences carry into our present lives, but that the experiences of our families, communities, and culture that we live in can also show up in our present, affecting us in very real ways. Oprah shares a story from when she was a young girl living with her grandparents. She slept with her grandmother in her room, and her grandfather slept in a different room due to his health issues with dementia. One night, little Oprah awakened to her grandmother struggling with her grandpa, who was physically assaulting her. After calming down her husband and getting him back into his bed, her grandmother pushed a chair under the door and tied cans to the doorknob. This became a nightly ritual that Oprah did not consciously remember into adulthood. Several decades later, Oprah had an aha moment when she was interviewing a school principal who was discussing putting chains on his school doors. The conversation about chains on doors triggered her memory of the cans on her grandmother's door and made a present-day connection for Oprah. She finally realized why she was afraid to be at home alone at night. Even in the safety of her home with security systems and a guard at the front door of her building, her body and mind stayed in a heightened state of arousal, and it was ready to fight or flight. Even though she knew this was an irrational feeling, she never felt safe at night, she shared. She writes, "Making that connection, finally understanding both the cause and effect of my sleep trouble was a game changer for me. Though I can still feel myself reacting to the deep stress points born in my grandmother's bedroom all those years ago, I now have the tools and understanding to step back, observe what I'm feeling, and choose how to move through the fear." Cara Black wrote, "The past informs the present. Memory makes the map we carry, no matter how hard we try to erase it." When I first read this quote, it felt sort of ominous to me. But the more I thought about it, it actually feels hopeful. A map can help me find my way. A map can also inform us of a different direction that we can choose to take. Asking the question, what happened to us, can inform our maps. Oprah asked Dr. Perry if it is possible for a heightened sense of fear to be inherited. He says that we absorb things from previous generations and pass them on to the next generation. Our genes, family, community, society, and culture are all a part of this. The fear of the grandparent becomes the fear of the parent, which becomes the fear of the child. Iyanla Van Zandt writes, every family has patterns and pathologies of thought, belief, and behavior that are passed on from one generation to another in the same way that a physical characteristic is passed on. Many of these conscious and unconscious characteristics are powerful and productive, and others are not. Because we are social creatures, we are constantly observing and learning from our environment and the people in it. We are especially sensitive to the emotions of other people. Dr. Perry explains that there are traits that are easily transmitted from generation to generation, including language, beliefs, and values. We are not born able to speak a particular language, just like we are not born with a belief about a political party, race, or religion. Some would say that these are learned traits. However, they are rarely specifically taught. They most certainly are passed from generation to generation. Dr. Perry explains that it is in our brain's cortex that allows us to learn from our elders, assimilate what we've learned, and pass it along to the next generation. Like Oprah, as a youngster, I spent a lot of time with my grandparents. My mother's parents in particular, when I was really, really young. My grandma Eileen was feisty, opinionated, and proudly frugal. My grandpa Mike was a little gruff, sometimes quiet, and very much in love with his little woman, which is what he called my grandma. Grandma and Grandpa fell in love and got married in the height of the 1930s Depression. She would say that they didn't have a pot to be in, but they had love. They paid cash for everything, including the 2 homes that they owned over the years and every vehicle that they purchased. They didn't believe in credit, and they hid money in places like hat bands and hankies in the freezer. My grandpa was a switchman on the railroad, and when they needed a little extra, my grandma would take jobs in factories doing work like cracking eggs and picking chickens. Waste not, want not was a common mantra. She washed foil and baggies before it was in fashion. She saved every piece of fabric and sewing notion. She packaged food and popped it in the freezer in the most ridiculously small portions, just in case. Yeah. Over the years, I have adopted many of her practices, sometimes with very different motivation, like saving baggies because of their environmental impact. One interesting trait in myself that I have recently thought about is how I have a nearly irrational need to not throw food away. I will bring home restaurant leftovers, items from potlucks if they are destined for the trash, and I nearly panic if I have items in my own fridge that are nearing the spoiling stage. I get really upset and anxious if I let something spoil. I have never experienced food insecurity, nor has anyone in my immediate family to my knowledge. If they have not spoken about it. I am wondering if this is an example of a trait, a belief that has been passed on to me at the DNA level. I sort of suspect that this is the case because it is a consistent feeling that is bigger than my current experience. That's my clue, that it's bigger. I suspect that food insecurity existed somewhere in my ancestral pipeline. When I have these feelings, I remind myself of my spiritual principles, that I have all that I need and I have no fear of lack. Dr. Perry explains that it is conceivable that the experiences of our grandparents, great-grandparents, and ancestors even further back have had a significant influence on the way things are expressed through our DNA. This is the budding field called epigenetics. The experiences of our ancestors changed their DNA and then get passed along to future generations, sometimes landing with us. Unexamined beliefs and values can create problems for the current generation. It can become understandable how beliefs and behaviors such as racism and misogyny perpetuate, how fears such as food insecurity or of people different from ourselves become systemic within families and our broader communities. The good thing is that we know that humans can change. Generational bias can be disrupted. Our brains are magnificent, especially when we are aware. Everything we do right now matters because it ripples into the next generation. Examining and understanding what happened to us can not only heal our current experience, it will positively impact those that follow us. Brene Brown writes, I define connection as the energy that exists between people when they feel seen, heard, and valued, when they can give and receive without judgment, and when they derive sustenance and strength from their relationship. Dr. Perry writes that the ability to successfully connect with others can be impaired when trauma has occurred. This can show up in families, schools, work, and friendships. Unhealed trauma is systemic. Trauma can also appear as physical symptoms. A person's worldview that has been shaped from fear and trauma can often have physical symptoms that are not otherwise explained. A 2020 medical report states that the vast majority of children and adolescents with recurrent abdominal pain have functional pain or non-organic pain, which means that the pain is not caused by physical abnormalities. It has been common practice to refer to these symptoms as psychosomatic or all in our heads, which really isn't very helpful. We are now learning to ask, what happened to you instead? Making the connection between a trauma response and a physical symptom can be a game changer in healing. We know in our teaching that dis-ease can manifest in many ways. The connection between our mind, body, and spirit is continuous. Dis-ease literally describes a body that is not at ease. Trauma experiences can disrupt our overall harmony. Working through our trauma, finding tools that work for us, being empathetic and compassionate with each other and with ourselves can help us to restore our overall harmony. Thich Nhat Hanh wrote, traced in your brain are many neural pathways that can lead to suffering or happiness. You may travel on some of them frequently, and they have become a habit, always leading you to react in the same way. For example, when you're in touch with a certain thing, perhaps a memory or an object, it may always take you down a pathway that leads to anger and hate. With the practice of mindfulness, concentration, and insight, you can choose instead to focus on something wholesome that leads you to a feeling of happiness. And Ryan Rose Evans wrote, if unresolved trauma can store itself in your muscles, fascia, organs, cells, and the rest of your physical body, so can joy, gratitude, abundance, love, and peace. Your body is also a safe place. I would like to end our time together with this poem by Julia Fehrenbacher, and it's titled, The Most Important Thing. So I'm going to just take a breath and center myself. So she writes, I am making a home inside myself, a shelter of kindness where everything is forgiven, everything allowed, a quiet patch of sunlight to stretch out without hurry, where all that has been banished and buried is welcomed, spoken, listened to, released. A fiercely friendly place I can claim as my very own. I am throwing arms open, to the whole of myself, especially the fearful, fault-finding, falling apart, unfinished parts, knowing every seed and weed, every drop of rain has made the soil richer. I will light a candle, pour a hot cup of tea, gather around the warmth of my own blazing fire. I will howl if I want to, knowing this flame can burn through any perceived problem, any prescribed perfectionism, any lying limitation, every heavy thing. I am making a home inside myself, where grace blooms in grand and glorious abundance, a shelter of kindness that grows all the truest things. I whisper hallelujah to the friendly sky. Watch now as I burst into blossom. I wish you all a beautiful rest of your evening. Namaste.
In your heart is a voice, it is a melody calling, eager to show you the way. Now is the time, make the choice, don't go and keep yourself waiting, when peace can be yours today. Singing, God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release and let it go. God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release and let it go. Let spirit hear it. God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release and let it go. God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release and let it go. Beautiful. Woo. Now there may be times when you strayed from the path that you're feeling is more in line with the truth. But with you always I've stayed, my love, it never will falter. The blood that flows there in your heart leads the truth. God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release and let it go. God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release and let it go. Let spirit hear it. God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release and let it go. God is, I am, I know, I am grateful, I release and let it go. Let it go. God is, I am, I release and let it go. Let it go. Let it go. God is, I release and let it go. I release and let it go.
Here at Center for Spiritual Living Greater Las Vegas, we are a mission and vision-driven community. We offer transformative educational opportunities, deep and meaningful moments of connection, uplifting Wednesday and Sunday services. We greatly appreciate your contributions that support the amazing work we're doing here in Southern Nevada. We have several easy ways you can contribute. We have text to give. Simply text the amount of your donation to our text to give number and you'll be prompted to enter your information. There's a link to our online donation page posted below this video, where you can contribute by debit or credit card. And of course, you're always welcome to send a check to our office if that works better for you. All of your contributions go to support the great work that we're doing here in Greater Las Vegas community.
The monthly publication, Science of Mind magazine, is a treasure to be read and contemplated. Along with in-depth articles, there is a day-to-day spiritual support to be gleaned from its daily guides. Licensed practitioner Lynn Frankenberger hosts Adventures in Faith every Tuesday at 11 a.m. on Zoom, and you're invited to join in. This is a weekly group discussion that focuses on those daily guides and how to apply them. Check Facebook and our weekly newsletter for more details. CSL Greater Las Vegas brings you much of your favorite spiritual music every Friday at 7 p.m. with spiritual soundscapes. Enjoy performances from CSLGLV vocalists along with special guest singers. It's music for your soul. Subscribe to the CSLGLV YouTube channel to get a convenient link sent to you for each musical performance. At CSL Greater Las Vegas, it is our mission to inspire spiritual discovery through community connection, exploration, and celebration. This mission supports the all-inclusive vision of Centers for Spiritual Living worldwide, in which we envision a world that works for everyone and all of creation.